is SaaS app data protection in Metallic, which is something as a SaaS data protection solution. Of course, we are uniquely adapted for or suited for in terms of architecture and best practices and customers protecting SaaS applications. But one of the things that we talk about in SaaS applications is how fast they've been adopted, just like everything else in this environment with the work from anywhere position that most companies have taken, both in reaction to the pandemic and moving forward. I think the market and everyone has spoken very strongly that this is a pattern that they would like to continue. And so SaaS applications in general deliver this, right? They deliver agility, access from anywhere, easy deployment. What they do is they free you from traditional concerns, right? We're all well aware of this. You don't have to worry about data center availability anymore. Do I have the right power? Do I have the right cooling? What happens if it floods? Do I have, a geo-replicated data center at least 200 miles away, right? Do I have to worry about those things? No, not anymore, right? And so the problem with this, this is fantastic flexibility, right? Everyone loves it. But the fallacy of this is that customers don't have to worry about anything at all anymore, ever, right? The fact that you don't have to worry about the service running does not mean that you don't have to worry about your responsibility in ensuring that your data is protected against different kinds of threats, not floods, right? But we've talked about cyber attack, accidental deletion. We had one customer who was working with some analytics platforms that accidentally deleted 150 petabytes of it, or terabytes of it. And that was pure accident, right? That still happens. Corruption, right? Malicious insider, something that most companies don't like talking about because it's so hard to guard against, right? Oh, malicious insiders, it's okay, we have controls. And so that's where you have to read the fine print. When you're working with a SaaS application like Office 365 with Salesforce, you still have responsibility as the custodian of that data to take care of all of these other considerations. And that's the nature of the changing risk that we see when customers adopt SaaS apps. And so that's where a data protection solution comes into play, right? It takes care of those kinds of concerns which are still in your domain: long-term retention, compliance, accidental deletion, ransomware, malicious insider, all more kind of logical issues, logical errors rather than physical ones. It's not servers going down, right? It's not your storage going bad or having to drive to your data center at 3 a.m. to swap out a server somewhere. That just doesn't happen anymore, right? With these apps. So that's where that kind of responsibility falls onto something like a Metallic, right? Not only do we provide controls over and against those kinds of threats, but we provide you the capability to quickly recover your data when you need it, which again, at the end of the day, that's what really matters, is how quickly you can get back your data. And it's not always all your data. Most of the time, it's a select piece of the data. One user, one file, a group of users. Hopefully, if we've caught the anomaly in time, your anti-malware solutions caught the anomaly in time, it's a small group of users, right? And being able to identify that data quickly and get it back quickly is paramount, right? It's the most important thing on top of customers' minds. And of course, finally, just a good practice of keeping your protection copy separate from the application where it lives, from the production applications. That is just best practice, right? You don't want to keep all your eggs in one basket. There are fantastic recovery capabilities that are native to, say, Office 365, but having that separated data protection solution is quite critical.
Do you ever hear of anything going wrong within those vendors that corrupts the data that's there, that stops them getting it back?
We don't really like to talk about stuff that happens natively to the cloud vendors, right? I mean, that's what they do. They're good partners. I haven't heard of anything.
Let me rephrase it. Are you aware that might be a risk?
It could be. I mean, it seems reasonable. Again, we look at how we address customers' value, how customers' needs beyond what the inherent capabilities of the platform are, because there are gaps between that and customer needs in general that we help fulfill.
And the user risk is real, right?
Yeah.
It's more than what the cloud provides or doesn't provide. It's, you know, accidental deletion by the users, any kind of things that can happen at that level that also needs to be protected.
So with that, you know, as a complete data management platform, Metallic also protects SaaS applications. Ranga mentioned Office 365. It's one of our most popular offerings today. You know, that's commensurate with the popularity of Office 365 itself. Dynamics 365 is a very interesting area as well. We're one of the only SaaS data protection vendors that supports Dynamics 365. And with that, we actually support all aspects of Microsoft Cloud, right? Azure, Office 365, Dynamics, right? They're actually kind of separate deployments inside of Microsoft. We support Salesforce as well. That's a really critical workload that a lot of customers have. And the great thing about these offerings is that we include storage with them. So you have unlimited storage, unlimited retention for SaaS applications. It's extremely simple to configure and deploy. It's extremely simple to purchase and understand what you have. And so the configuration of this protection is very, very fast. We see customers up and running with this in 15 minutes, right? You grant us access, you tell us what to back up, we start doing it, done. That's it.
So we're gonna touch on Office 365. Office 365 is a big one for us. This is probably low-hanging fruit that we go after. Talk to customers. A lot of them, you know, probably 75% still think that they need backup, but they really don't. You know, as far as the replication and stuff. But you know, today they're starting to understand that even though it's hosted and stuff, they need extra protection. Having that extra protection, being able to back up every part of Microsoft's, you know, application or suite is good to have, especially for the ransomware that's out there all over the place. Bad actors, users, you know, anything like that. Being able to recover that data outside of what Microsoft holds it for is really key. So for the Office 365 perspective, again, it shows us our data, the protected data sources, but configuration on this, we try to make the configuration with everything simple, built on best practices too. So a lot of stuff inside the software is already built for you. Like in Office 365, we have a 5-year, 7-year, and infinite retention already built in that a customer can choose from. So it makes it easy for them to pick. A lot of them can't decide what they want, or they don't have a retention period ever. You know, now they might start talking to other, you know, resources in the organization saying, you know what, if we keep data longer than 7 years, that means we have to recover it, you know, or bring it back. So now if you define something for them, it helps them, which is, you know, which is what we're looking to do. So from an Office 365 perspective, because it is Microsoft, it's a Graph API that gets created in their Azure tenant, and that's how we make the connection. Setup is very simple. It's just logged in with a global administrator account one time. We do not secure any credentials inside of the actual product itself. It only uses it to log on to create the Graph API. And as you can see on the screen, these are the permissions that are going to get added to that API. So even if somebody got in and deleted these applications or something like that, it's not deleting data storage or whatnot. It's just more of the permissions. Our storage is on the back end. It's included, like David said, air gap. Nobody can get to it. Nobody has access to it. But we can still get the restores if we need to. So you can see the permissions that get requested. We say accept here. It automatically creates that Metallic Exchange Online application in the back end, and the application is created. I mean, that's it. It takes literally 30 seconds to create the application. We can go ahead and see the applications that each one does get created. So if we needed to add, you know, OneDrive or something like that, we just click the application, do the same type of sign-on. We have the application. From there, the management aspects comes into play is we make it easy. So the software is built on really, I like to call it set it, forget it. Remember those like old turkeys you used to throw into the oven, just let it spin? This is what our software is. We make it easy. So we add the users or we just turn on the software. So we can add the all users, assign a retention plan to it if we want to, give it, just say infinite. Click the save button. We do auto discovers. Every time a backup runs, it's going to add new users. A user leaves the company. We'll retain the data based on that, you know, specific retention period. We can still restore from it. We don't remove the data from the product. We also release the license, so then you can use it for a new user that comes into the actual company itself. So it's all built in. We do public folders, shared mailboxes, and group mailboxes. at no charge. We only go by the active user itself. Okay. But from a retention plan, it's easy. If we want to add AD groups, we can go by specific AD groups. This is great to have if you want to take a set of executives and maybe assign them a 5-year plan, or I don't want to keep these guys for, 30 days. You can really now define specific retention at a granular level for either a user, a group, or just everybody. So we give you a lot of added features and functionality. Once we do get the data ingested, yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you make those changes, one thing that would be incredibly useful at that point is to have some degree of annotation to say why you've made the change. So, especially with infinite retention, because inevitably nobody can ever remember why they retained something infinitely, and are very sensitive about changing it back. So it would be really useful at that point if you had some annotation you could add that said, change this because X, Y, Z,
Like a little note or something like that.
Yeah, just a little note in there that just gives you some clue what's going on, why you did it.
Yeah, you're retaining it for compliance needs or something. Yeah, that's
and maybe an ability to know who did that and the date it's done, so you can go back and say, from an audit perspective, you've got a way of getting rid of it.
Yeah, the audit trail will pick that up. Who's setting retention? But I get it, to put like a little note on it. That's a cool feature. We'll make a note of that and see if we can take that back to the product team. From a restore perspective, from a mailbox side of things, and then even from OneDrive Teams, we give you granular level restore capabilities. Not only can we restore the entire mailbox in one shot, we can also go add a place to another user and another folder. So if I just want to drop this into maybe my human resource mailbox and pick my restore folder, I want to look at the data at a later date, I can go ahead and do that. We'll give you the options to do in place and out of place restores of the user itself. Okay. Now to get a little bit more granular, we do message level recovery. This, what it does is cracks into the Outlook. It's going to show you your inbox. It's going to show you your calendars, contacts. We secure all that. And now we can restore just a message. So this is good to have if something got deleted, compromised, whatnot. We can restore back, but we also have built-in search features. So if I just wanted to look for something that said 10 things, it truncates that data, brings those messages that I want to restore back, but I can also export it to a PST right on the fly. You don't need Outlook installed anywhere. You don't need proxy servers. We do all that in the back end, and we put it into an export area. This is a great feature to have. We can actually come in here and now download that PST at a later date. We can hand that PST off to a compliance officer if you want to, but we also have e-discovery as well. That's an upcharge in the product where compliance officers would get their own web page. They can do extensive searches. They can actually see data inside of the emails themselves. But we have great technology built in. These same folders, or I should say files, we can also restore them directly in place to, add a place as well to the same user or a different mailbox if you wanted to. Other app I just want to touch on too is Teams. Teams is huge, especially since the pandemic. People are using it, creating channels. I'm in, probably 150 channels that I have to shut off at night because my phone's constantly going off. But we're doing a lot of collaboration in there. And then people need to back that up. They need to be able to restore. We capture Teams at a granular level. So it does the actual channels themselves. We can set a specific retention on those channels as well. And then we can recover those channels. So if I needed to recover the actual channel itself, I can come in here, restore the entire team directly back in place. But I can also use it if I want to migrate. So let's say I want to take this Dunlop Mifflin and actually dump it to my human resource team. I can go ahead and dump that into a different channel if I wanted to. Now to get a little bit more granular, we can take that team channel and I can restore just items. So this is going to go right in and it's going to show you all the stuff that's inside that I've shared inside my files. Any posts between users is going to show you here. But a cool thing is we have version control everywhere inside the product. If we know something was compromised in a specific version, we can actually come in here and restore that version directly back into Teams. I can go ahead. I can go back to another team or destination. Again, there's that migration path if you want to consolidate. But we give you a lot of different types of features built into the product to help you restore that data back. Plus search capabilities. If I wanted to look for something that said go, and I know I heard a couple of you say that you've been at some of our goes, we do have some of our data captured here from a PowerPoint presentation. But you can see now it starts to filter that stuff out. I know it was a PowerPoint. I can really get down and select specific content for that recovery. Another thing to add too is everything I showed you is from an administrator perspective. We do offer self-service from an email side of things. So if end users want to be able to download their own email and stuff, we give them a web page. They can log in and get their email as well from the Office 365 product. But again, it's very granular. It's robust. It's going to back up your data. Automatic schedule runs every 8 hours. The first full ingestion, once that data is seeded, we'll do incrementals from there. Give you one full backup in a 24-hour period, and then again, point in time capabilities is really, really great to have. Plus, that storage is included, which is isolated from any Office 365 tenant. And we use the hot storage in Azure too, so it's GRS. So it's geographically located. So East US will go to Central, 3 copies in East US, 3 copies in Central. God forbid a region ever went down. So it's very redundant and robust that way as well.
Alex also provides some sort of API so I can integrate into my infrastructure as code and automate my environment.
It depends what type of automation, because we have a lot of stuff built into the product that's automated already for you. So maybe touch on what type of automation are you looking for?
That I don't know. Again, came in from Twitter.
They mean triggering a backup remotely from code.
Yeah, I think
No. It's going to be more like, typically it's like, if I'm going to go provision some servers, right, I'm going to provision them, let's say, through Terraform or through whatever, Ansible. Right?
Wants to build,
As part of that build,
Yep.
you're expecting to be able to integrate that automatically using that same code into this environment.
So APIs are on our roadmap. Keep an eye out for things that happen there. But what I will say is that dependence on infrastructure as code is interesting. And what we do typically is we see customers establishing auto discovery policies as opposed to positively telling us to back something up. We will positively discover everything to be backed up, right? So infrastructure as code is great until you have someone that provisions a VM without it, right? And so what happens is we have auto discovery policies for things like VMs, for things like user mailboxes. You can say, hey, all of these users go into this policy, this plan. We will automatically find any new users or any new VMs that come up with tags with any patterns in their names, right? Any particular subscription, right? You can add all of these parameters to an auto discovery policy, which will then automatically pick up. So while infrastructure as code is really great, I love it. It's fantastic. It is only as good as the infrastructure code, right? And what we want to do is ensure that we protect everything.
Okay, so you're sort of implying that it should be down to the administrator to have decided what it thinks that user is going to get, rather than let that user go in and make a decision about what they want.
We can let them both, right? But often there are policies that are administered that are applied above user
I agree
control.
you'd have some sort of default policy and fall back on something like that.
Yes,
but
absolutely. So yeah, that's why I said, API, keep an eye out for things in that arena, right? We have APIs, for instance, for our MSPs, our MSP partners who integrate with our MSP capabilities because they're fully driven by automation, right? 100%, the more automation, the better. And so that's the beginning of our API journey. You'll see more of that come along the way.
especially for reporting and usage information, our MSP partners use APIs.
That's right. Sorry.
Now, the other aspect is self-service, so especially in this environment. So,
Yeah, so so it's a great question, and we do have self-service in the product. We've gone through a kind of a circular journey with that. We started with self-service, and all our customers asked us to turn it off. It was a very an eye-opening discovery. So we've learned a lot, right? Obviously, we have continuously listened to our customers. We've continuously worked with the field and everyone to figure out what the best path forward is. And so, yes, you can have self-service, but it's not on by default because most customers ask us to turn it off.
So in the beginning, obviously, all the other things we've talking about, a lot about security and ransomware, right? In this Metallic product, and maybe Mike can show us, is there places where you can just at least give us an idea where some of that protection, some of that recovery and analysis of perhaps the, how you're getting infected, is that in this product, or is that in The enterprise product is.
No. So in the Security IQ dashboard, and
Yeah, that's what I want to say.
yeah, and by the way, it's funny. We call it a dashboard, and for me, a dashboard implies a static view. It's totally interactive, right? So it's not really just a dashboard, but we give you full visibility into detection time and type of anomaly that we detect, where it is, the directory it is, and then we can bring you automatically to the right recovery point before that anomaly. So that's all included with a Metallic subscription to any of our offerings.
That's an important point, right? To Enrico's earlier question as well. Security IQ is available free of charge with any Metallic subscription. It's not a separate add-on.
Yeah, you'll find that
actually true for Active Directory backup as well.
Active Directory as well.
Offer Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. That's available for anyone with a Metallic subscription.
Yeah, you'll find that in general, right? We don't charge for the on-premises backup copy capability, right? That's included. We don't charge for any of the guidance or any of the monitoring capability that you have, reporting. That's all part of the product. So what you see, what you purchase is what you get, right? We have that all available.
Are you still also doing laptop backups with Metallic?
Yes. Endpoint backup is quite successful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the level of granularity when you're recovering teams?
Oh, it's actually quite good. So we've had a relationship with Microsoft for forever, right? It's actually the first place Commvault software was ever installed. I did it too. It was way back when. But so with Teams, we work very closely with them. We can recover individual messages inside a Teams channel, for instance, files. You can restore an entire channel, right? The granularity, whatever the APIs afford us today, is what we support.
Yeah, and so this is a different question, but is there any demand to protect Google, whatever it's called this one?
Oh, Workspace?
Yes.
So we have, obviously Google Workspace enjoys a wide variety of customers and a broad customer base. And, just like all the other SaaS apps that are on the market today, we continuously evaluate that market to see how, what the demand is and what the impact of that support would be.
If you generally take a look back, our general trend has been every quarter we introduce either a SaaS workload or a hybrid cloud workload. So if you continue with that same progression, Office 365, Salesforce, Google Workspace has a really big user base, so it should come up in the roadmap pretty soon.
Okay.
But then we do, depending on customer demand, we decided to bring in the AWS workloads, right? So we do alternate between the SaaS and hybrid cloud.
And that AWS workload is interesting, right? Because we're one of the only SaaS data protection vendors that has true multi-cloud backup support. We support AWS and Azure, right? It's not something you see often.
We are multi-cloud, and if you look at Commvault software, we already support pretty much all the clouds, so it shouldn't be difficult to make it.
Whole platform supports more clouds than anyone. So it's right.
It's the same DNA.
Same DNA.
Expansion.
Bring it on.
So one question I had about that was the storage targets.
Yes.
And my ability to change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
What if I decide that I want to start backing up to or I want to change my storage, and I say, you know what, I'm not enjoying where I've put it. I've made a mistake. I want to change that. Presumably I can just retarget backups to go to a new storage area, but what do I do about the old ones? Do you have like a way of me migrating my existing storage from one solution to a new one?
Is it technically possible? Yes. Do you want to do it? Probably not. And the reason why probably not is because it would be extremely expensive to do so. The egress fees associated with that data move, and egress is one of those things that's hardly understood by most people, but dominates conversation because it's such a significant cost. Makes that a little bit prohibitive. It's better to allow, in most cases, it's better to allow natural aging of the data to occur and just tail off your utilization of the one cloud while pointing your backups to another.
Good question. On the Azure, on the managed stuff that you put, your managed cloud storage, is there egress coming out to the store?
No, we don't charge egress from our storage.
Issue there.
Yes.
In fact, that's one of the cool factors behind MCSs, which is our managed cloud service, Metallic Cloud Storage Service. there's simplicity as well as security. Earlier, Indu and Mike were explaining about the security aspects, but there's also a simplicity aspect where, you know, customers don't need to worry about egress. They don't need to even know about it. That's all kind of abstracted out by us.
Yeah.
At 9 cents a gig that start over the internet, that gets painful.
It's challenging. Yeah. So one of the things too, I mean, that adoption of, we were talking about, you know, how Metallic works with Commvault and the rest of our portfolio. And that's a great example, right? MCSS for use with Hyperscale X or software. It is very easily provisioned. It is literally, you buy it from us, we send you a new license key, which does not have credentials in it. We authenticate you. We securely exchange tokens at the time of access, and you never get access directly to the cloud storage, so you can't affect it at all. It started as a simplicity offering and has quickly evolved into a security offering. Very, very quickly. It's very, very appealing to customers who are looking for very secure storage that they can't touch.
No, I was asking, so on the roadmap again, so Google is, you know, less visible in the offer today. You are not supporting it yet.
Not yet.
So do you plan to add it soon, or do you see real demand?
In the roadmap for sure.
I think it makes sense to support it sometime on the roadmap. Yep.
And two aspects to that, right? One is Google Workspace, other is GCP.
Yeah,
workload.
GCP. I was talking about GCP. Yeah.
Yep.
GCP based on.
Just to touch on something you said there, you don't charge egress for storage.
Yes.
So
For
Express
MCSS.
Rate, you're pulling everything over Express Rate.
We
Matter where you, how you
Well, yeah, no,
no.
but
As the customer pays for the circuit, we take care of the egress. If it comes from our storage, yes.
For MCSS, for our storage.
okay.
Yep. So we support all of that, right? Direct Connect, Express Route, everything.
internet,
Public internet.
doesn't matter.
Oh, egress is pain.
It is. And no one understands
Exactly.
it.
That's
It's
why it
amazing.
started out as a simplicity story. Very quickly, it became a security.
Still got